Hi, welcome back to Low and More. I have received so many requests for this video. Let's discuss trusts. A trust can be set up to benefit a person, a charitable organization, or simply for the protection of assets. The primary legislation governing trusts is the Trustee Act. There are different types of trusts, but some of us may be familiar with an express trust. This is where the settlor or grantor decides who can benefit, who manages the assets, and how and when distribution occurs. An express trust is very different from a constructive trust, for example. In a constructive trust, a court uses that to remedy a situation where, for example, a property was obtained by fraud or a breach of duty. Now, what are the steps in setting up a trust? Of course, you must draft the deed of trust. You must decide what are the terms of the trust. For example, what do you want to achieve by this trust? We go back to the reasons why we have an express trust: for the benefit of a person, a charitable organization, for asset protection, etc. You have to choose a trustee. Now, this is a very important component of setting up a trust, because this trustee must be someone who is competent, someone who is reliable, someone in whom you have significant trust. And a trustee doesn't necessarily mean it's an individual. It could be an organization as well. The next step is that the settlor or grantor transfers the assets to the trustee. This step, final step here, is very important because that trust must be formalized by registering it with the Ministry of Legal Affairs. If this is not done within a specific period of time, the trust becomes null and void. Now, there are pros and cons to trusts. One of the major pros or benefits, advantages, is that a trust is private. When you have a will, once that will becomes probated, that will is then open to the public. Any member of the public can access that will. The second benefit is that you avoid the bureaucracy of the probate process. Some persons also believe that another advantage of a trust is that there's a possibility of hiding assets from creditors, or, for example, in divorce proceedings. Now, there are also downsides to trusts. There are, of course, upfront costs, but aside from those costs, there are the maintenance costs of the trust. For instance, the trustee has to be compensated. Another disadvantage may be the mandatory legislative compliance. Now, a practical downside is the perception by the beneficiaries that the trustee is not handling the trust fairly. Now, remember that consulting a competent attorney when drafting a trust ensures that the trust is valid, enforceable, and you get what you want out of the trust, meaning that it is defined in the way that you want it. So this was just a very brief overview of trust. Don't forget to look for me on your social media platforms here, or if you want to contact me directly, this is my contact information here. So until the next time, bye.